So thank you everybody for being here. Pavels Hedstrom is our speaker today. His undergraduate in architecture comes from the Danish Royal Academy in Copenhagen, Denmark. He also attained a master's degree there in architecture and extreme environments, in which you're going to see a lot of the work that I think grew out of that experience that he had there. His current firm is called Inxects. It is applying a lot of the ideas that he developed while he was in graduate school, I think. In 2023, he was the Lexus Design Award winner and won the vote of the people at that particular design competition, in which there were over 2,000 applicants. He was one of 4 of the final winners and the overall winner by the vote. So join me in welcoming architect, designer, mutualist, and one of the good guys, Pavels Hedstrom.
Thanks a lot for that introduction, Tim. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to see so many people here, and I'm really privileged and really happy to be in this university and have this opportunity to share my work and to maybe generate a discussion of how we need to design in the future. So my name is Pavels. My main mission, the core of my mission as a designer, is to strive to minimize the gap in between humans and the rest of nature. And I will exemplify this through my work. And so we will come back to this during a couple of different projects. As Tim mentioned, I have a background in architecture and extreme environments, which is a pretty future-gazing program at the Royal Danish Academy. And we have a very special methodology where we work with environments that are unbalanced due to climate change. And we develop ideas and prototypes that we bring to these different locations. And that could be the Gobi Desert in China, or the Amazonas, or different places. I'll show you examples of that. And out of that experience and that testing of a prototype, we develop architectural concepts. So I will start with briefly give you an idea of my process during all the projects. I basically developed design to handle my anxiety about the future and the climate change. So my projects always start by finding a global challenge that really scares me. And then, before designing anything, I start to imagine narratives that really excites me. For example, one challenge could be 2 billion people lack access to clean drinking water today. And a narrative that excites me would be, what if a human being would have the ability to gather its own water? And then I start to sketch on designs that supports that narrative. And eventually, and sketching the designs, I talk to different experts in the field, and then I start to build a prototype. And then I bring that prototype into the field, a location where that would be relevant, for example, the desert. And I get a lot of findings and experiences, and using a first prototype basically gives you a lot of failures, but also a lot of knowledge. So I come home and I reflect upon my findings, and then I tell the story for the rest of the world. And doing so, I gather new alliances and new friends and new experts that can tap into the project, which I can apply and develop a new prototype or a new strategy. So today I will give you 4 different examples of how I work, and they have different scales, a lot of one-to-one, and then I'll finish off with a grand vision for food security. So first project I will tell you about is the Fogex backpack. As I mentioned, 2 billion people lack access to clean drinking water, and this is a problem that we will see increase a lot more due to climate change. 2019, I went to the driest area on the planet, which is the Atacama Desert. It's so harsh in these environments, so a lot of space agencies do a lot of testing for their equipment going to Mars, finding life through water. 1981, water got privatized in Chile. This increases the gap between the poor and the rich. This is also a trend we will see much more in the future. The picture was one that I took recently, and it's a lithium mine that requires a lot of water. Chile is one of the biggest lithium exports in the world, so you probably have it in your mobile device. When I first came to the Atacama Desert, I was going to test my design, but I also, doing so, we started out by renting this house, a really nice house with close to the beach, and it had a swimming pool and a lot of nice features. But the second day in the desert, the generator stopped working, and suddenly we were out of water. The pool became a lifeline during those days, waiting for water, which we needed to order. And no one knew Spanish, so it was kind of difficult to get ourselves water. But I realized that really nice design, it doesn't mean anything if the fundamentals doesn't work. So I started to have this question of how to empower a human being with the ability to be self-sufficient in fresh water, even in the most arid areas on the planet. And I started by looking at the very species that evolved in the Atacama Desert, looking at plants. And the cacti, or the cactus, have evolved through millions of years with the ability to catch fog and convert it into drinking water. Another creature that I was really inspired by is the Namib desert beetle. And it has this feature of being able to relocate itself using its body to capture moisture and convert it into drinking water. There is conventional fog catchers in places like Chile, but you need to own the land. They require maintenance and are pretty expensive to set up once you have a location. So I started to think about the concept of how to combine the human body with the features of the beetle that can catch its own water. And this was kind of the spark for this project. And then I started to sketch on different ideas, taking inspirations from plants and from insects, and also mechanics in like daily objects, like an umbrella, for example. And then I created this prototype called the Inxects backpack. And the backpack it's mobile, and it's inflatable. So you can unfold this antenna that has a material called the racial mesh. It's a really simple plastic component-based material that you can see. Yeah, it's really accessible and not that expensive, and has the ability to catch moisture from the fog. The Inxects backpack also have the feature of providing the user with a mobile habitat. So you unfold it, and when unfolded like this, the structure can catch up to 10 liters of water each day. And it's really low tech. The technology is really low tech. So you have this material and the antenna, which will catch the fog, collect the water droplets, and channel them down into a water container, only by using gravity. Most fog appears during night. And that's also the reason why the user needs this sleeping vessel. When catching fog, you'll wake up in the morning, and this water container also functions as a window. So when the light beams strike that window filled with water, you will have an experience by reflections of water inside that tent. So you will have a quality, an architectural quality, being in the most arid area on the planet, but you will feel like you're next to the ocean, or being even underwater. 2023, last year, as Tim mentioned, I received the Lexus Design Award. I'll have some water. I received this award for that project, which gave me the chance to improve it. I got the budget and I got some time to improve this project. And I had a long list of things that needed to be improved. One of them was that this backpack it's fairly big and chunky and heavy. So it's not accessible for everyone. Another problem was that the mechanics was a bit too complex. So when it would break in the desert, it would be difficult to maintain it and fix it. And most importantly, when trying to find fog in the desert, it's like in this situation, you would have fog on a certain location, and you'll start to hike there. And once you got there, and it takes longer than you think to reach that top, once you got there, the fog have moved to another location, and it's a dynamic resource. So I was always chasing fog and not getting that much. So I would need a system to let me know when and where I will be able to get fog. So I developed the next phase of the project, which is the FogX jacket, and it's a very lightweight jacket. You can look at it later. And it's combining everyday objects that anyone could wear with a mobile app, and that would be doing the job. I'll show you a video before going further on this one that I made for this project.
Water flows through the ecosystem, through landscapes, through cities, through our bodies, and in the air surrounding us. Yet just 0.5% of fresh water on Earth is available to sustain life. Human activity is threatening the planet's water supply. We need to seek solutions by expanding our horizon. Can we learn from ancient species that evolved with abilities to collect water in the driest climates on the planet? FogX is a jacket that catches fog and turns it into drinkable water. With only a few steps of adjustments, the jacket can transform into a fog-catching station that provides shelter for the user whilst harvesting fog. The design gives the user the ability to collect up to 10 litres of water each day, even in the most arid areas on Earth. The inflatable design of the jacket enables the user to be light and mobile in the landscape, whilst being an active agent in the surrounding ecosystem. The FogX app informs the user of potential locations to catch fog by utilizing real-time weather data. FogX combines everyday objects with design that enables individual users to take an active and intimate part of the ecosystem, whilst collecting the life-sustaining resource, water.
Important point I want to emphasize is that the jacket is not a solution on the global water problem, but it creates a direction in how we need to approach and think and relate to natural resources. And the jacket contains different components that together makes you self-sufficient in water in this case. And it's the same with the backpack. The technology is, it's really low tech, and it's just gravity doing its work. So you'll have a water container. You expand this sail-like structure, which will collect the water and channel it into an integrated water bladder in the jacket. A really important feature with this jacket is that it gives you shelter in the desert, because the sun is really what we are struggling with in these environments. And in the Atacama Desert, the radiation is extremely high, so it's like it's walking into you're basically walking in radiation that would give you cancer eventually. The FogX app is an extremely important part of this project because it creates a new way to think about water infrastructure, and it really challenges the idea of owning the land or buying the water to be able to access water. So you would share data in between users and create this community of water collection. Another feature, you can see it as a small evidence, it's a plant detector which is integrated in the app that would allow you, walking in the desert, to connect and to learn about these plants that are now under extinction due to the mining industry. Now for a whole different project called the Inxects suit. This is about food security and plastic waste management. 2050, we need to produce 60% more food due to our population of approximately 9.3 billion people. And we can't farm as usual. We need to rethink our way of farming and thinking plant-based and sustainable solutions. 2020, I went to the Faroe Islands, which is a small set of islands in the North Atlantic Ocean. This nation, their existence are based on their fish exports. And at the same time, 2050, the oceans will weigh more in plastic than in fish. So nations like the Faroe Islands their very existence are under threat due to our use of plastics. So, and at the same time, more than 2 billion people eat insects daily. So I was starting to think of, could I introduce insects as an alternative protein source and export for the Faroe Islands? The Faroe Islands are also heavily dependent on fossil fuel energy, which is another problem that they will meet in the future. So another thing that I'm constantly thinking of is the human body as a power plant. How can we utilize us being batteries? If you've seen Matrix, you'll know this concept since before. So now the question was, how to design a system where a human being becomes a power plant that enables a growth of edible insects, creating a symbiotic, mutualistic relationship. So when I design a project like this, I draw inspiration from a lot of different places, and I go far back to my childhood, to what excited me then, and also what excites me now. And for example, in this case, I was looking at insects and symbiotic relationships in nature. There are ants that protect aphids, carrying them around, protecting them, and in return, the aphids give them honey milk, which is their feces, which is a nutrient resource. So the ants provides protection, and the aphids provides them with nutrients. I started to sketch on a system that would catch or collect the human emissions. So that means that this suit would collect heat and humidity from the human body and channel that into a system of insects that the user eventually would be able to use for edible use. Mealworms was one of the top candidates to work with because they are highly they are high in proteins. They don't require that much water, that much land use as conventional protein sources. And the mealworm is the larva of the darkling beetle. When I was reading about mealworms, I stumbled upon this article made by Stanford University saying that mealworms can eat and digest toxic plastics due to their enzyme in their belly. So the mealworms don't mind to eat plastics, and they convert it into energy that goes out to their protein-rich bodies. So now the concept was how to design a system where a human being becomes a plastic waste management power plant that enables the growth of edible insects. And the result of that was the insect suit. The insect suit puts you in a symbiotic relationship with a colony of mealworms. So basically you put plastics and mealworms into the suit, and then you need to maintain optimal environmental conditions for the mealworms. So if they are cold, you would need to move your body to create heat and provide them with this resource. And eventually the worms would digest the plastics, and you would have a new rich protein source. The suit contains different components and have different sensors to it that measures CO2 levels, humidity, and heat. So you'll get constantly new data on how the mealworms are doing. And this technology, these sensors that will display on the suit would let you know how you would need to behave. And I found out that you could climb different terrains to generate heat, which would also make your body stronger. But you would also need to take care of the stability in the habitat. So I developed a couple of movements inspired from Tai Chi that generates heat without getting the worms to tumble about too much. And they would eat the plastic in comfort. Wearing the suit was really an interesting experience because when I first got the worms on the mail, I was really disgusted when I opened the box, and it was thousands of mealworms crawling around. And I realized at that moment that I needed to become friends with these creatures. But wearing the suit, I got a lot of respect for this species, and I got really passionate about them. So now I both respect them, but I'll go as far as saying that I love them. The suit, it was approached as a really crazy project, and most people thought I was really crazy. But it became a major piece in an article in the New Yorker, a recent piece of work by a writer called Sam. And later on this year, it became the finalist in the Index Project Award, which is an ongoing process, it's called the Nobel Prize of Design, and it's funded by the Danish Crown. But why I'm saying this is that I think that the world is starting to get ready for us designers to be brave and to really take the risk of what we need to do and expand our minds trying to find solutions for the future. The Inxects island is, this is a grand vision based on the Inxect suit and the experiences I got. I'll have some more water. This is a picture from Scotland a couple of months ago where I was investigating oil rigs. I went there to do research on rigs like that, like this one. In the future, we will need to. We would need to do it yesterday. We need to think in terms of renewable energy sources. This leaves a lot of oil infrastructure and fossil fuel-related infrastructure that we would be able to transform into new, valuable and potential contributing vessels and systems. I was particularly interested in these kinds of rigs called the semi-submersible oil rig. It's a self-propelled vessel that can be relocated and is extremely resilient to extreme marine conditions. So I started to have this idea of what if we would convert these structures into regenerative ecosystems. So instead of pumping up oil from the depth of the ocean, these structures would pump up plastic waste and convert it into new resources. And you can buy them online. You can get a pretty good one for $50 million. And you will have a huge amount of fleets with these structures that will be either decommissioned or I mean, they're out there waiting to be repurposed. So how can we reverse oil rigs into livable, mutualistic ecosystems? I like to think about it as, you know, how can we make them pay their debt, even though it was us that, you know, it's not their fault, but how can we repurpose them? Looking at food security, plastic pollution, and also sea level rising. So I will walk you through how I imagine we could build this system. So you would need to strip down all the facilities that is directly related to oil drilling. And then you will leave a couple of facilities that is highly relevant, like maintenance facilities, cranes and helicopter pad, and of course the foundation. And then you'll start by building a core, a set of filtration systems that would pump up plastic from the ocean, clean it, extract it, and distribute it into a grid of mealworm pods. So you will have a huge amount of these pods filled with mealworms treated by a robotic system that would go vertically on the tower. You would also have a water reservoir on top and cranes that would be able to construct new facilities and new components onto the island that would be necessary for the ecosystem to work. And around that core, you would have a vertical service infrastructure transporting humans, resources, mealworm pods, and other things. And then you'll connect a set of 6 villages containing humans, plants, and insects. And the villages would be connected through another vertical spiral that would contain a vertical forest or a green route. So the Inxects Island is it's a whole ecosystem that extracts plastic waste in the oceans and provides around 80 tons of high-quality proteins a month. So here you can see the core with the spiral, the transportation system, and it's extremely important in this project that you'll get a visible site. You'll get the transparency in between the industry and the humans that lives there. Now we are disconnected. When we buy a piece of meat in the store, if you're not the farmer, you wouldn't have a clue how it got there. So it's important for the future that we get connected to the resources and the understanding of where we are located in this food chain. And it's not only proteins you would get out of the mealworms, you get valuable oils and components to produce biodegradable plastics. You also get fertilizers by their feces, which is extremely high in nutrients. This is a close-up on one of the villages where you would live. The ramps sticking out is lifeboats that exist on existing oil rigs. And each village would have a set of different living units. And all units have access to the horizon, the ocean, but also inwards to an inherent forest. You can see on the facade that all the units have hydroponics, which is fed by mealworm feces. So each unit is self-sufficient also in vegetables. And you'll find a lot of bamboo in these structures. Bamboo is an extremely potential building material. You can also eat it, and you can use it for construction and so on. You will also find a lot of bamboo in this green route that leads you eventually through all the villages up to the crown, which is where you will also find the fresh water. This water reservoir was also designed as a recreational space for contemplation. So it's like the temple of the island. So I think we're getting to the end. I think doing the science, doing architecture, and even especially in landscape architecture, we should think much more about these structures as living ecosystems and working with circular economy all the way around. So what is the future of resilient habitats? This is really the question I'm throwing out to you, and I would like to hear your take on that in after the presentations. But I think if I would wrap it up in my way of addressing that question, I would divide it into 4 principles. So first one, the human body is an ecosystem. Adapting humanity to the surrounding environments starts with understanding the human body as an extremely intelligent and sensitive ecosystem. Observing the human body is crucial when adapting to the rest of nature. And it really means that if you want to save the world, if you want to save an ecosystem, you really need to start with yourself. It's, we're all walking ecosystems, so you need to provide it with nutrients and maintenance and keep the balance. And if you can do that with yourself, you will have an understanding how you'll treat your friends, your family, your house, and eventually your cities. So it's really about thinking holistically about this. The other principle is to learn from other species. The most intelligent technologies and strategies can be found in nature. And learning and understanding other species is fundamental when developing a resilient relationship to the rest of nature. And I think we are extremely fixed in technology today, and we are waiting for the technology to save us. But basically, we have species that evolved through billions of years that has, I mean, they're living proof of how it should be done. So I think there is a lot of learning out there already. And I think there is a lot of indigenous people that understood this a long time ago. Third one is rethinking resources. So human consumption needs to build upon resources which are part of circular and regenerative loops. And there is no thing such as waste. And I think which means that we need to stop thinking about linear lines and put things in circular loops. And this is how nature does it and figured it was the best thing to do. And this is also how we need to treat our buildings and gardens and so on. And then design for resilience. So as extreme environments occur due to climate change, the built environment needs to be designed for resilience. And a catastrophe is only a fact if we are not prepared. So it's start acting now, preparing ourselves for a really challenging future. I think, especially our generation, we're going to see a lot of change, and it's going to be dramatic. By 2050, we will have approximately 2 billion people that will be relocated due to climate change. It's a lot of people on the move, and it's going to start conflicts, and it's going to generate a lot of challenges. So we need to work now with strategies to address all these challenges, to be prepared, and we might have a good chance of adapting. And that would be the last slide. Thank you.